Sup, bitches? Welcome to the Sassy Spiritual Bitches podcast.
Oh, so much emphasis today. I love it.
It's been a while. I was
It
harnessing my inner Ursula.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Yes, and it feels like it has been a while. It hasn't, but we normally record on Thursdays, right?
Yeah.
Thursdays, and then we're on a Tuesday today. Oh my god.
I know, we're way behind schedule.
Way behind.
Who says that, sketch? I've never said that in my fucking life.
That reminds me, have you ever seen that show, I Love You, Man?
No, but I know.
Oh, fuck, it's funny.
I don't think I have. Or maybe I have. God, I don't know. I'm old.
It's so funny. And he just, gets real nervous and just says stupid shit the whole time. And it, makes me just die of laughter. It's such a good show. But I could watch it, every day. And Graham's always like, no, watch a different movie.
That's how Keith is when I watch, Clue or The Private Eyes or any of my old school 80s movies.
Right. No, watch a different one, Dad.
Yeah. He's like, oh, come on. It's
not
good, though.
On that one.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Classics are classics.
Well, exactly.
It's hard to choose something that's fucking mediocre when you have great gems like I Love You, Man.
Well, speaking of Jason Segel, I liked Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh, so good.
His little Dracula fucking musical.
Yes.
I was like, make that a real thing because I would love to go see this.
Yeah, that's a good show too.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love stupid comedies.
Yeah. It's good times.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Hawaii. I mean, can I go there, please?
Oh, yes.
Soon.
Yeah. We're just daydreaming about living somewhere warm.
Yeah.
It's not even winter here yet.
It's not even close to fucking winter here yet.
No.
I had to scrape my windows the other day.
Fuck.
To go to work. And it wasn't even that early. It was 8. And I was just cursing. I was like, it's too early for this.
Fuck.
It was plus 20 yesterday. Why am I scraping my window?
Fuck is just all I have to say.
Yeah, basically.
Fuck.
Basically.
God damn it.
Enough of us bitching.
So
that could be maybe that'll be our bonus episode. No, we're supposed to go ghost hunting for our Patreon bonus episode. We'll do that this weekend.
Yes.
So go follow us on Patreon. But anyway, so what are we talking about today?
I think we're talking about some classic conspiracy theories.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Spooky October.
For spooky October, spooky season.
Yes.
My favorite time of year.
Yeah, it's a good time. I've really learned to appreciate it. It's not that I didn't notice before, but I didn't notice, and I'm like, you know what? October's a good time.
I like October. It's my favorite month of the year.
Mm.
Considering I hate cold and stuff, it's like, why would it be October? And I'm like, because I just love October.
Yeah, October's pretty good.
I like September too, but I especially like October. There's a vibe.
There is a vibe.
It's like that. I don't know. Was it last night? Yeah. Or the night before. But it got windy and the few leaves that are on the trees were shaking and it was kind of raining and that dark, totally spooky, this could be a horror movie vibe. But it's like that pretty much every night now. And I'm like, yeah.
That's true.
I'm liking this.
I know. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. It was cloudy all day and it was blue clouds and dark and ominous. And I was like, yes, right, I'm down with this. And it was a holiday. So it was nobody was around.
Yeah, it was quiet as fuck.
Yeah, super quiet.
Yeah, it was cool. I'm loving it.
Me too.
Loving it. So, speaking of 90s movies, 80s, 90s movies, what did you think of Men in Black?
I really enjoyed that show.
I feel like that's a classic fucking show.
It is fucking classic.
Now, what do you really think about the Men in Black?
Well, to be honest, I had watched the shows first, but then later I realized that the Men in Black are apparently real people. It's a real thing.
Legit.
And I'm pretty sure every movie, not every movie, but lots of the movies that Steven Spielberg is a part of, he takes weird, crazy, fucked up things that no one would know about, and then he turns them into a movie. And I was like, if this show has Steven Spielberg as a part of it, then it's true.
That was a Spielberg flick?
He was a part of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, did I know that? I don't think I knew that.
I remember like looking at the opening credits. I actually watched it not that long ago, and I was like, oh, there it is.
I still remember the dance I did to it.
Oh, really?
Yep. On your mark, ready, set, let's go. Anyway, nothing like a little Will Smith vibes, yes. Men in Black. I still know that, you know, like in the video where they do that little dance.
Yes.
Yeah. I know it. It'll never leave my head. I've done it so much.
Oh, I love it.
I used to do it when I taught dance. I taught my students that. We had fun. But yes, so that's going to be our first conspiracy-ish thing that we're going to discuss is the Men in Black.
Yeah, he didn't, he wasn't a director.
I didn't think so.
But he is a part of it.
Like a producer, maybe?
Yeah.
Are you being ignored?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys can hear this little squeaky squeak. We have a guest speaker today. Her name is Nerp. And she's my dog, who's a pain in the ass and apparently needs all the loving today. So if you hear a little squeak, I apologize.
But yes, the Men in Black, apparently real people. I don't really know that much about them because they're very mysterious, but...
Do you think... Okay. Since we talked about aliens last week.
Yes.
Do you think that it's just... what's the word I'm looking for? Thanks, Mercury retrograde. Fuck. Do you think it's just aliens that have that kind of thing? Or do you think there's other government, like, agencies that have, like, their own sections of Men in Black?
Oh, I bet you that all of them do. But I know that the Men in Black apparently always appear after, like, a weird alien incident.
Yeah.
But they almost, like, look like aliens. You ever seen pictures that people caught? They're, like, real fucking tall and weird.
Lean and, like, sunglasses.
Yeah. And,
and like, they always have the hats.
Yeah. They always have the hats. So I'm like, are the aliens in charge of this particular unit? Like, what the fuck?
Right? Yeah. But, like, you hear so many stories about... Yeah, somebody will witness something, and then all of a sudden it'll just get so fucking quiet about it. And then years later, they'll be like, yeah, I got visited by these people in black, these men, and they threatened me and told me not to say anything, and they took all my evidence and left.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
so fuck. Weird. I'm sure every unit, even like the whistleblowers and stuff that end up getting all their stuff confiscated, somebody must have paid them a visit.
Well, you know what's interesting? Okay. I'm going to fuck up don't come at me, okay? I'm going to say right now, I'm going to fuck up this history shit. But when Nikola Tesla died, and, you know, he said he communicated with aliens, basically, and that's where he got his ideas for all his stuff, right? So I guess when he died, poor, by the way, and, like, super, like, there was a bunch of government people, well, not a bunch, but like one or two who like came and basically raided his apartment of his research.
For sure. I believe that.
And I'm like, like, I wonder if that would have been like the Men in Black.
I wonder.
Because if he said he was low key talking to aliens, which, I mean, he didn't come right out and say that, but essentially he said he talked to aliens and that's where he got all his ideas.
Fuck, how do I get this line of communication open? Actually, I don't have the discipline to invent things.
No, I wouldn't want to. I'm like, nah, just tell me some other shit. You know, you tell me, I'll tell the collective. That's about as far. That's about my effort level here.
I agree. I really wanted to figure out free energy. I'm like, I fucking know this isn't that complicated. I know I can live off the land. I know I can create free energy, but like, fuck. Now that I like actually maybe could channel that, I'm like, oh God, that's way too much effort.
No. Besides, it's been created. They just...
Yes.
They hid it away. And anybody who's come close to it, they shut them down.
Oh, for sure. And I would never try to commercialize it. It would literally be for like my close people, because obviously, yeah, you get shut down. And
yeah. It's like that guy. Did you ever hear about that guy who created a car that ran on water?
Yeah.
Yeah. He disappeared, didn't he?
What the fuck? Yeah. Oh God. You know, and it's like, I hate to be a conspiracy theorist sometimes because you get a bad rep, but like, fuck. There's a lot of shady stuff going on.
There is a lot of shady stuff.
Damn it. Just telling Randy, like, earlier before we started recording, I'm like, fuck, like, why didn't I just have to be alive for this particular time period? Like, I just thought that would be the best idea when, like, all knowledge is suppressed and it's like control, 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 bye, bye, bye. And I'm like, yeah, it's just exactly when I need to come to be alive.
But then we were all warned numerous times by various different people. Like George Orwell wrote 1984 as a warning, even though it was like, what a cool science fiction book. Meanwhile, every page is like, oh, that's happening, that's happening, that's happening, that's totally like, oh, ha ha ha, you know. Ugh.
And I've just spent like a week kind of sick. And I don't know if my spirits are just down, but I'm just like really kind of annoyed at all the people that like refuse to even just embellish for just a fucking moment that there's other shit going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like just expand your mind just for like 5 minutes. I love to like look at different conspiracy theories, and I don't by any means believe any of them.
Oh, for
or
sure.
Like I'm like, oh yeah, I see pieces of that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. But for the most part, I'm like, okay, that's extreme even for me.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? But I love to indulge.
Yes.
I like to go, but what if?
I know.
Like, what if it's not? You know?
And like I think I talked about it maybe in the last episode, but it's just like that's how it all started for me. It was just like I was just curious. I just wanted to put the pieces together because what I was looking at didn't make any sense. So when I looked at more conspiracy theories, it made less sense. At no point in time where I was like, yeah, that's it. I was just taking it in because one fucking day after you put enough shit in your brain, suddenly the dots start to connect. And some of them are straight bullshit, and they're always going to be bullshit. But then there's a couple of them, and you're like, whoa.
You're like that meme
Yes.
with the guy with the
Charlie
yes,
from
Horrible Bosses. Oh yeah. But like he's got like these red lines, and he's like, and he looks crazy. I'm like, I feel like that.
Yes, that's how I feel these days. And I'm like, wait, some of them are valid.
And I'm like,
but I mean,
wait a minute.
How old do you think you were when you were first started looking into conspiracy theories?
Well, you see, I was a bit older than most because I didn't have the internet when I was a kid. Right? So, you know, but I was always interested in shit like aliens and stuff like that from like a young age. I thought they were cool. I didn't know much about them.
Right.
But then when the X-Files came along,
right,
I was like, fucking yes. Vampires? Yes. Aliens? 100%. Government shit? Well, you betcha, you know?
Exactly.
But now, yeah, it's all like low-key soft disclosure.
Oh, for sure. And it's crazy because it's like, people are like, well, explain it to me. In 5 minutes, you want me to explain something to you that I've had the knowledge about for the past, like, fucking 20 years? Like, no.
Yeah. It's like, let me condense. Sure, I'll condense 30 years into a snippet for you. It
sounds even more fucking crazy.
Yes.
So, god damn it, people.
But I don't know. I find it fun to open my mind and start going, especially the ones where I'm like, that's fucking bullshit.
Oh, for sure.
But then I'm like, what would happen if it wasn't bullshit? And then I like kind of go down a rabbit hole of my own making. And
for sure.
Usually at the end, I'm like, nah, it's still bullshit. But it would be kind of cool, you know?
And like, it's just like the crazier thing is, though, it's like, what is the difference between a conspiracy theory and reality? Like, if you actually could pull yourself out of reality for a minute and observe it as someone who has not lived it, it sounds equally as fucking crazy.
You know what? In 50 years, when people come back and read about this time, they're going to be like, what a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists. Like, what a bunch of bullshit. Yeah. What were they thinking?
Yeah.
You know? And it's going to be like, bitch, you weren't here.
You know? Yes. Or just even thinking about like capitalism. You go to work every single day to a job that you hate, and you pretend to be this person that's very articulate, and you make these fancy emails and you do all these things, and you make a bunch of money, but then you give a very high portion of it to the government who's supposed to be looking after you, but really they're just fucking sitting around in cushy jobs, making work for themselves, making you think that you need them because they love getting your money. Like, that's fucking mental.
But don't forget, at the end of the year, you didn't give them enough, so you have to give them more.
Or
Not
even
to
just
mention
like,
all the little taxes on stuff that you buy too.
yeah. And then people are like, no, the government has our best interest at hand. Oh, yeah.
Do they? Do they?
They
Okay.
definitely don't want to solve the problems and make their jobs obsolete, okay? Like, fuck. They do nothing and get all the money that other people earn.
To be fair, I think there's a lot of people who do work for the government that work hard.
Oh, yeah, for the government, yeah.
Like those people, man, props to you. I worked for the provincial government for a while. Nah.
No.
I worked for a city. That didn't stick either. You know? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not that person.
Not fun. People that work for the government, I think, are something else. But people that like politicians and
Ugh.
fucking, yeah, junk.
We end up killed. You know why? It was this podcast.
Ugh.
Just kidding.
Bring it on.
Okay, so another popular, convoluted, if you will, story would be, well, the Mandela effect, but did CERN, like, cause it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, CERN, that's,
Oh,
bless you. There was a sneeze. CERN, that's CERN. It's a massive particle physics lab, and it's located in Geneva, Switzerland, kind of on the border of France. And so the name stands for, okay, and I'm going to butcher this. Like, I'm going to say that right off the hop. Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire, which essentially means like the European Center for Nuclear Research, basically. Mm-hmm. So, but its goal, and this is like off their website, is to probe the fundamental structure of the universe.
Right.
So that's like, okay, so what do? They take particles and smash them together, like almost like what, the speed of light or some shit. Mm-hmm. And then they like, it's supposedly, or it's supposed to, or it does, I don't really know, makes a bunch of other subatomic particles. And then they use machines that identify and measure them after the smash.
Right.
And I'm like, well, okay. And I guess the point is to show what potentially unknown particles make up the world.
Right.
Okay, but why do you need to know that? Like, who the fuck cares?
Right. And I think, what's the theory? I can't remember what the date was, but it wasn't like December.
I can't remember the date.
But it was in 2012.
Yeah. But basically, it's like the conspiracy, if you will.
Yes.
Is that these experiments at CERN, like all these, like smashing the particles and creating these new particles. So they're creating new matter. So they're creating a new reality. So the reality, because of these new, this new matter and shit, has shifted our reality. And it's like catapulted it into a new dimension.
Yeah.
Is the whole thing.
Yeah. And then some people think that like the two particles collided together, created a supermassive black hole, and then like the new reality that sparked, like, ate up our old world in the black hole, and then the most of us were shifted into the new reality.
Basically.
It's like beyond my understanding.
You know what's funny? Go ahead.
It makes you wonder.
It does. See, I watched an interview with one of the scientists at CERN, and they asked, like, could a black hole be created from this? And they're like, well, there's always a potential. I think they said there's like a 1 in 12 chance.
1 in 12 is pretty high.
And I'm like, that's high. But I guess there's something about black holes, unless they get enough, like, momentum, basically, they can't feed enough before they fizzle out.
I see.
But potentially, the guy said, potentially, there could be one that, like, continues to eat the world. But it would take about 5 years to totally consume the world.
Whoa.
But if you think about it, if that happened, and in 2012, well, 5 years, that would be 2017. And that's right around the time when all these new Mandela effect stuff
Interesting.
started coming out,
That's true.
right? Because it was around that 2017 mark when people are like, hey, do you remember this? Because, all right, so here's the thing. I think it actually technically started in 2013 is where people kind of were like, huh, that's weird. But then it got like really popular in like 2017 when more and more shit came out. So if we talk, basically they're saying it caused the Mandela effect, right?
Yes.
Low key, that's not even low key. It's 100% what they're saying.
Yeah.
So the whole, it's named after like the Mandela effect is because, and I don't know about you, you're a little young for this. So Nelson Mandela apparently really passed away in 2013.
Yes.
But a whole bunch of people, including myself and my husband, remembered like back in the 80s learning that he died in jail.
Yeah, I remember hearing that too, that he had died in jail.
Yeah, and like some people I've talked to around my age, they're like, I remember watching his funeral on TV and seeing his widow like crying beside his coffin.
Crazy.
And I was like, yeah, because I remember even back then when I was in elementary school going, who's Nelson Mandela? Right. And why do we care? But then all of a sudden, like, I remember when he was released from jail, I was like, I thought he died in jail.
Yeah.
That's when it started for me. And then, yeah, he passed away in 2013. Everyone's like, wasn't he dead already? Like, I swear he's dead already.
Yeah. That's so weird.
So that's the one that started it all.
Yes, which is why it's got the lovely name, the Mandela effect.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many more, and it's so bizarre because it's like, well, maybe they just changed the name of it, or maybe they just did this, and it's like, no, it was never ever called that. It was never ever this. It's so fascinating.
Okay, let me ask you this: did you ever watch Looney Tunes as a kid?
Yes.
Okay, how do you remember tunes being spelled?
Wasn't it also with like the O's? Like it was like Looney and then Tunes?
Yeah, like Tunes is how they used to spell it.
Oh, okay.
Now it's spelled with the O, and everyone's like, it's always been. No, I remember as a child because
I don't remember.
It was Looney Tunes. I probably
would have been so young I couldn't read.
Probably. Tunes, because they used to have like this record, like their things before each one. Yeah. And like one even had a name of like, I don't know, I'm making this up, but something along the lines of like melodic melodies or whatever, and then there would be a skit.
Oh yeah.
But the whole thing looked like a record.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was Looney Tunes, Tunes.
Right.
So
interesting.
What? Fruit Loops is another one.
Right.
I remember as a kid it being FR and then like the two O's, like they did in Loops on the cereal box. But now it's just like spelled like fruit and then the Loops.
Interesting. One of my favorite ones is that stupid freaking Monopoly dude.
Yes!
I played Monopoly so much as a kid. We were farm kids. We didn't have really anything going on. And that fucking dude had a monocle.
Right?
And apparently he's never had a monocle.
He did. I 100% think that he did. Okay, did you ever watch Curious George?
Yes.
Did he have a tail?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, he didn't. Now he does.
It's weird.
Because I remember being, hey, he's a monkey, but he doesn't have a tail.
Right. I think he looked weird.
Yeah, because I remember going, he's a monkey? Because he had no tail. Right?
Interesting.
Okay. And here's another polarizing one. It's actually not that polarizing, but it's like a big one. The Berenstain Bears.
Right.
I remember it. Berenstain Bears.
Yeah,
Stein. We watched the TV show. We had all the books. Like, it was Berenstain Bears.
And it was such a big deal because it was a hard word to spell when I was a kid.
Yeah, and you had to learn how to spell it. S-T, right? S-T-E, not S-T-A.
Yes.
Right? So it was like Berenstain or Berenstein, whatever. And now it's with an A. I'm like, it's not the weird. Berenstain Bears. It never was. It was Berenstein.
And it's so weird because I remember, like, that word was really hard to say. So I remember, like, people, like, coaching you through it. You have to spell it, memorize how to spell it, and memorize, like...
Because they were like...
how to pronounce it.
Yeah. It was like Berenstein, you know, and then I remember my parents being like, you know, like people have last names, blah, 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 Steen. And, you know.
Yeah, so interesting. I know, it's like the more I think about it, the more I'm like, what the fuck?
Right?
How weird.
Oh, here's one for some younger people. Pikachu. Now, I never watched that show. Pokemon or whatever.
Yeah.
Did Pikachu have black on his tail?
He did!
Right?
He had freaking black on his tail.
I never watched the show, but I remember seeing pictures of him and he had black on his tail. When he does not, apparently.
And never has.
Like, what?
Yeah, like, excusez-moi. Like, I remember this so clearly.
And it was like a little lightning kind of bolt. He made his tail look like a little lightning bolt.
So weird.
Because I remember going, that's the only thing cute about him is his, like, lightning bolt tail. Why do people watch this show? It's stupid. Don't come at me. I was old.
Weird.
You know?
I was like, yeah. Remember the good old days of Pokemon?
Yes. Okay, so there's a couple more that I want to ask you about.
Okay.
One was a big deal to me, but probably nobody else. And the other one, I want to know what you remember. Because this one kind of ruined my childhood.
Okay.
So, Snow White, what does the queen say to the mirror?
Doesn't she say mirror, mirror on the wall?
Mirror, mirror. Apparently not. Apparently it's always been magic mirror on the wall.
What?
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Right? I'm like, no, it was mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all?
Give me back my old reality. This one sucks.
I'm like, what? No. Ask anybody. It's mirror, mirror. Wasn't there even they made a Cinderella knockoff movie that was called Mirror, Mirror?
I don't remember.
I don't know if that's true or not. I vaguely remember, though. And it was Mirror, Mirror, and it was Cinderella themed. But yeah.
That's weird.
Apparently it was Magic Mirror. I'm like, what the fuck? And my last one, I mean, there's more we could talk about. There's a fuck ton more.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, so if you didn't go to Catholic school or you're not Catholic, a lot of you probably won't know what I'm talking about. But I remember Mother Teresa, we all know who that is. I remember it was a big deal in the 90s, like a huge deal, because I went to a Catholic school run by nuns, okay? Run by nuns. Like, this is a pretty fucking very Catholic school, okay?
Mm-hmm.
She was canonized as a saint in the 90s, and it was a big deal because she was the only living person to have ever been canonized as a saint. Like, I remember this being a big deal.
Right. I feel like I remember this.
Apparently, she wasn't actually canonized until 2016.
Fuck.
I swear it was like 1996, 1997.
Yeah, that's weird. I feel like I remember that.
Like,
I remember being like, why is everyone so obsessed with this woman?
Yes.
Like, she's the only living saint.
Yes, the living saint.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But apparently that never happened.
This is bullshit.
Like, what? It literally bends my mind.
Yeah, me too. And I remember like reading in a book too, actually not that long ago, about like what that is. If it's not the CERN theory, like, well, that still doesn't make sense to me, but we shift in and out of dimensions all the time, apparently. Like, you know how you set your keys down somewhere and then suddenly you're like, what the fuck? I swear I put my keys here. And then they're like, not there.
Yeah.
It's because you like, just like acts, you like, it's like a vacuum though. So the version of you that's in this one goes into the other one. Then your other version comes in and then you're just like, what the hell? So sometimes I think like, or you have conversations with your partner and you're like, yeah, I told you that. And then they're like, no, you never told me that.
Keith
like,
and I have...
What the fuck? I told you that.
We have fights over... I'm like, we had full-blown conversations about this. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, and it's because we like jump in and out of different dimensions. So it's like, how many husbands do you have? Like, how many different versions of Keith are you really married to? Like, it's crazy. Probably infinite.
And why are they all poor? I'm just saying.
I know, can't you get sucked into one where he's rich?
For reals, man.
Fuck, wouldn't that be nice?
God.
Yeah, so then apparently you shift in and then you just live in a new one for a bit and then you shift back. But I don't know, this seems bigger because it's like weird how many people remember the same things.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a one person's like, oh yeah, I popped in and out. This is like
a collective
millions
of
people have the same fucking memory. So,
which is so weird. It just still bends my mind. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
yeah.
And I also heard a theory recently, like I could never make sense of deja vu either. Because people are like, this is what you previewed for this life, but it's always the most like random, mundane fucking moment that you're like, I've done this before. I heard it's when your parallels, your people in alternate dimensions, all sync up and are doing the same thing, or a couple of you are synced up doing the same thing at the same time. And then you have like that weird memory that you've already been there because it's like happening simultaneously in other dimensions. But there's so much happening. There's like the alternate dimensions where there's like very few differences going on, but then there's also like fractals of you living totally different lives, and then your past lives are actually parallel and they're happening all at the same time.
Yeah, everything's happening simultaneously. Like the past, present, and future are all technically the exact same moment.
Yeah, so there's like, it's not your past life, it's like different parts of you living in different parts.
Yeah, it's like past life is kind of the wrong term.
Oh, God.
It's more like, I picture it like a broken mirror. And it's like a different shard of you. Like, it's like if somebody broke you into however many pieces, but if you put them all together, you're one.
Yeah.
But yet every piece is different.
So fucked up.
And then I just think like, okay, because I don't know why this kind of messes with my mind so much. So the Mandela effect, what does that mean then? Like what? Like, oh my God, do you guys hear my dogs? They're gonna get rowdy.
Well, I heard also that like it's so that your soul can experience like every different outcome ever known to man. So that's why there's so many alternate dimensions, is because it's like one of us has, got married, you got married to Keith and one of you didn't. And so there's two timelines going on, one where you marry someone else and one where you married to Keith. And then there's like, one where we had apple pie for dinner and had cherry pie. And so we have every different experience for the day. Because all we're really doing here is experiencing and creating and adding information.
Yeah. I heard there was another, like you, oh my God, do you hear this? I might have to put them outside. But there is also a theory that, when you have near-death experiences, like all of a sudden you like almost go through the intersection, you're like, fuck, I almost got hit.
Yeah.
You create another dimension at that moment.
Yes.
And I'm like, what? Because one where you died and one where you didn't. Okay, hold on, guys. All right, sorry about that little interlude. My God.
But yeah, isn't that fucking a mind bender that like, yeah, well, the way I understand it, every choice you make, you actually like splice out a new reality. But some realities are really short-lived, because if it's like, ooh, apple or cherry pie, that was a 5-second decision. So the version of you that eats cherry pie is just like 5 seconds.
Fizzles out like the black holes that don't get enough to eat.
Yeah, pretty much. But like a really big life-altering decision, there's a version of you that goes there and a version of you that doesn't. So sometimes when I'm really faced with like a big decision, I'm like, well, what do you want to say? Do you want to say that you fucking bitched out, or you want to say that you went in the timeline where everything worked out? And I'm like, fuck, the timeline where everything works out. But fuck, I didn't realize if you almost die in an intersection, I didn't realize like how big of a deal that would be.
Because what's the alternate? You died. Which ultimately doesn't make a deal for your soul and your timeline, but it alters a fuck ton of other people's timelines. Yeah. Like you fuck their lives. Like you shift their timelines.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
Wow. And like I said, you're dead, so that version of you doesn't matter anymore. But it sure messed everybody else's up. Wow. It's fucking crazy.
That is fucking crazy.
Like this whole like the Mandela effect and like dimensions and quantum physics and shit. I mean, it like literally bends my mind, but it fascinates me to know. Like I could sit and talk about this for days.
So true. And I like wish I knew someone who was just like very well educated on quantum physics, because I'd love to pick their brain, but like I can't sit down. Actually, I could, but I don't want to sit down and figure it out myself, because it's never gonna like make sense, and it'll take me the rest of my life probably.
I got told one time in some sort of reading I'm sure I've mentioned this before, that I was told to look into quantum physics and astrology.
Ooh,
They're like, those two, you have a knack for it. And like,
neat.
I don't know, because I try looking at astrology and I'm like, God damn it, like, what?
I know, fuck, it is a complicated art.
I'm like trying to what? What the fuck? You know? But I'm sure if I had a good teacher, I think that's what it comes down to a lot of the time. It's like finding the right person to explain it to you properly.
Yes. Isn't that the truth?
Because, man, I feel like if I had had good math teachers when I was younger, I wouldn't have such a problem today.
I feel like that is true. Because I don't know if I ever said this to you guys, but when I was I'm the first of 4 kids, so my parents didn't really like know the difference, you know what I mean? But I had a teacher who did not teach us math for like 3 years.
Jesus.
So I learned grade 1 math, and then we didn't really do grade 2, 3, or 4. Yeah.
That's like fractions and shit.
Yeah,
that would like fuck you up.
Yeah, so I went to like a farm school. So we had the same teacher like multiple years in a row sometimes, just because of the smallness of the classes or whatever. And then, yeah, fuck, we get to grade 5, and then we were like, we're going to do multiplication tables. And all of us were like, what?
Huh? How do you subtract?
Yeah, pretty much. So
Good
it
God.
wasn't good. So I feel like I'm actually surprisingly, for not having those like 3 core years, not bad at math, but my confidence about math is not good. If you want to put me on the spot and have me answer math questions, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, no. But I made it all the way till I took everything except calculus. So I did all right, but I don't feel confident about my math skills.
No, I got mercy passed because I had like a 48 and you needed a 50 to pass. And they were like, well, we want you to graduate. So there you go. Have your math 30.
Sweet.
Just like I got mercy passed by 2. I mean, it was 2 points.
Yeah,
You know.
I definitely went like over and above. But by the time I got to like math C30, I was just like, yeah, I think I got a 51.
Yeah.
I just didn't care because I didn't
I'm
need
like,
it. Anymore.
Trig and cosine and what the fuck? I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care.
No. Definitely not.
Yeah. So when this lady's like, oh yeah, quantum physics, I'm like, bitch, I dropped physics because I couldn't get it. But let's make it more complicated.
I don't know, did I finish physics? I think I finished the first level of physics and I never went back because I was so confused.
Like physics 10?
Yeah. But like physics, that was like boring physics. We're talking about mirrors and shit. And I was like, no, like I want the concepts of life. But I guess you need like the basis. But...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember doing a wave experiment and that was kind of cool, but I'm like, I don't have no idea what you're meaning by any of this, but
exactly.
It looks cool. I like waves.
For me, I know, for real. And one of my things is like, I need to understand why we're doing something for me to get it. So when you're like, this mirror is concave and this mirror is convex, I was like, okay, yes, but why is this important? Or like, we're going to study the wavelength. Like, if you could have been like, why? I probably would have done great. Or like sine, cos, and tan and stuff in fucking like math. Why?
Mm-hmm.
When am I going to need this? I probably would have been great at math.
Yeah. Circumference. I'm like, huh?
I know, like, fuck.
And what is it? I just remember hypotenuse, and I was like, hypot in use. I'm like, that's a bathroom on an airplane.
Oh my
like,
God, yes. I love it.
But I mean, if you told me, like, what's a hypotenuse, I'd be like, huh? I don't know.
For sure. I don't know.
And there was some equation
mm-hmm.
that everyone knows, and I can't remember the name of it, but I just didn't get it.
Yeah, like I'm a why kid. If you can't tell me why, then I have no use for this information.
Yeah, I would tune out. I would just, like, literally, I'd watch a movie on the blackboard because my eyes would kind of, like, I don't know, blur, and I'd zone out, and it would honestly be, my daydream was, it was like I was watching a movie on the blackboard.
Oh, that's cool.
And
nice.
Then if the teacher called on me and snapped me out of it, I was like, deer in headlights. I had no idea what was happening.
Reminds me, I had a friend and we had the same math class, and fuck, it was like right before lunch, I think. Was that period or whatever? I don't even know. It was in the morning. And fuck, every class she fell asleep. Every class she'd zone out and be asleep. And I was like, fuck, how does she do this? How's she passing this class? She just sleeps through it all.
Or you do I'm pretending to do my work, but you prop your book up sitting on the desk, and then you put your head down like you're writing, but you
feel like
really
that's
put
what
your
she
head
did.
down.
Actually, I think that class was really full, and I feel like teacher couldn't see past the person in front of her, just the way it lined up, and yeah, she just fucking fell asleep.
No, we never had more than there was only 28 in my graduating class, so we never had more than 28 kids in a class. And that's only if we all took that course.
Right.
So really, it was like 15, 20 at most.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. But we digress.
Yeah. Fucking math class. How'd we get here?
Fuck.
So
anyway.
funny. What else we got on the list here? I can't remember.
Inner Earth people.
Oh, yeah.
People living in the crust of the world.
Yeah. What do I even know about that? I think they were people that like once actually lived on the planet.
Well, from the research I did last night, apparently these people who live in the crust of the earth lived there before the surface people.
Oh. Okay, yeah. Actually, I've heard that. They've always lived in the earth, and then I heard when Atlantis plummeted, some Atlanteans like moved in there too.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
Because apparently the planet, Earth, because they're like, it's solid, but apparently it's not solid. And so and I guess there's entrances at either pole.
Yeah. And
to get into the center.
And I've heard, at the poles, and I've also heard some of the pyramids.
Oh, I can see that.
Are doorways, especially the ones in Egypt.
Yeah. Well, they apparently have tunnels and shit underneath.
Yeah, and eventually it goes to inner earth, I've heard.
Oh, I can see that.
And you know what's crazy? How would you imagine what inner earth looks like? Like if you just had to guess.
If it was me, just not knowing the research that I've done, I'd say, I don't know, is it rocky?
Yeah, and dark and earthy.
Yeah, apparently it's perpetual daylight and lush.
Yeah, because the internal core acts as an internal sun.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually very lush and green, and it's always daylight.
Always. It never is night. And because there's always warm Arctic winds, and it confuses the fuck out of scientists because they're like, it's Arctic. You shouldn't have these warm winds here. That, but it's because it's so close to the core.
Wow.
They're actually from the sun under the surface. Crazy. And that's why the wind appears warm.
It's just mind blowing to me. I don't, and again, obviously these are conspiracy theorists. I don't know, but I've heard a lot about inner earth, inner earth. What else do they call it? Agartha.
Oh God, I don't know. They have a bunch of different names, but so this whole thing kind of came about because I think what was it, Admiral Byrd, B-Y-R-D, I think. Anyway, he made first of all he went to the North Pole, I think, in the 40s, and they went past the North Pole. I'm saying I don't know, 7 hours north past the pole, and because they found this region that had never been charted before, basically, and they penetrated. They were penetrating this hollow part of the earth that they found. And they went down 1,700 miles or 2,000 miles or whatever into the earth, but they found nothing but lush green land. And so they were like, huh. So what did they do? They fucking hightailed it and went to the South Pole next and dug around. And then they went back, was it to the South Pole? I have to check this article, just a minute. I think they went back to this. I think they might have gone to the South twice. I'd have to check this. Just a minute.
Wow.
I don't know what I did with that article. I sent it to myself. Oh, wait. I think I found it.
And I know there's been and then to build off of that too, people have said that they've met strange kind of, they almost look human, I think, but they're really tall and slightly odd looking, and they've met them, and then they're like, yeah, we live in the earth.
Yeah. Okay. So 9 years later, January 13th of 1956, Rear Admiral Byrd, leading another expedition to the Antarctic, yeah, I was right, flew from wherever. Basically, it's 400 miles from the South Pole. And they entered, again, the hollow region of the Earth for the South Pole. And they went down 2,300 miles that time. So then, so that was January. And then in March of that same year, 56, he returned to the States. So like they were there for what, 3 months, right? And he said, quote, "The present expedition has opened up a vast new land, which he later referred to as an enchanting continent in the sky. These explorations were divulged on the radio at the time, having worldwide significance. Although millions of people heard the announcements and press releases, the US government decided to strictly censor the information and prevent its circulation. No additional details were given, and the reports from Admiral Byrd were forgotten."
And I've heard, like, obviously they're way more advanced than us. And they basically want absolutely nothing to do with the surface people. Like, they just think we're like a pest. And I always wonder, like, why would they suppress that information? But it's like, if they're more advanced beings, and we acknowledge, and even aliens, we acknowledge these advanced life forms, the first thing humanity's going to wonder is, like, what the fuck do they know? What are we doing here? What's the meaning of life?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of magic can we get? And
Yeah.
then we would remember our own power, because we all have the same potential. It's just a more advanced being, which means we can advance into that. And we will then not be able to be controlled. Because the only reason that we're controlled now is because we think we need the government for food or money or shelter or water or whatever. And like, so if you start realizing you can manifest like that, and everything you want's at your fingertips, well, surprise.
Yeah. Well, according to this article, apparently the Tibetan monks know how to enter.
I believe it.
And, you know, ascended masters, esoteric wisdom, blah, 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 kind of come from these caverns. And there are other locations believed to be entrances, other than like the North Pole, Antarctica, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, Mount Shasta, which I totally believe in. I want to go to
Yes.
Mount Shasta.
Yes, me too.
But anyway, I guess these people must communicate telepathically or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the time is coming closer for when they're going to be willing to open their world to quote unquote topsiders. So I don't know.
I think we're ready right now, you guys.
Yes, please. I'll take it.
And I guess I don't really know what they look like, but I did a session with a guy once, and he's like, when you ground, you need to like get the Agarthans to like plug you into the internal sun, like really ground, like fucking ground. And yeah, I started like just imagining what they would, and I'd be like, can you guys like plug me into the internal sun, please? Like, I don't know. And then yeah, I don't know what they look like, but in my visualization, they look very tall.
I can see that, actually.
Yeah, very tall and like.
Well, let me ask you this. So, again, this kind of ties into last week with the aliens. And if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. So, a lot of ships go into the water. And it's like, oh, they must have water bases. But do you think maybe there's entrances like at the bottom of the ocean into there?
Ooh, probably. I feel there's probably two things happening. I feel like there's definitely, yeah, like probably entrances to inner Earth. And they probably, yeah, go through the ocean or go through the mountains or whatever. But I think sometimes, do you think there's also like other bases, like maybe like in mountains and stuff that ETs use that
100%.
aren't part of the inner Earth?
Yeah.
I think there's multi-level answer to that.
Yeah. Or maybe they just communicate with each other and they like hang out.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because like, I don't know. We could probably do a whole episode on like just fucking the ocean and weird things about the ocean.
Yeah.
And, you know, underground bases and, you know, weird creatures and shit like that.
Yeah.
It grosses me right the fuck out.
I know, me too.
Have you ever heard those weird, like, oh, God, I don't even know where you'd find them now, but there's weird, like, ocean recordings that people have, like, taken that they've recorded and they're like, we can't figure out what it is. It's like this, I don't even know how to describe it. It's this weird tonal, like, I don't know if it's an animal trying to communicate with sonar or if it's just this weird, like, is it coming from a base? Like, what the fuck is this sound?
Weird.
And yeah, it's bizarre. It's just fucking bizarre.
No, I never heard about that one. That's
Oh, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, try Googling it maybe. It's just like, or searching for it. But it's like underground, unknown underground sounds. Like, I don't even know.
Weird.
But it's, yeah, it creeps me the fuck out.
No, the ocean is, it scares the fuck out of me.
It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
But I cannot deal with it. I can't, you know how people watch shows of like people exploring like underground shipwrecks and shit? Like, I can't do it. I can't watch it. There's nothing scarier than underwater shit.
I know.
Like, even like oil rigs and stuff, like, no.
Not for me. And I hate that it's like, oh, like, what even are those creatures? Like, they're just, some of them are just creepy and I just don't like it.
Yeah. And like, our octopus is aliens.
I fucking swear, they're so smart.
Right? And I don't know, man. I'm sure there's like huge motherfucking ones. Like, I think the Kraken is real.
Fuck yeah. I believe that. That's
Maybe,
so cool.
Maybe we'll touch base on, maybe we'll look into that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cthulhu and Kraken next week when we do our cryptids episode.
Yes. That'll be fun. I love that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for next week's like
Me too.
Bigfoot and Mothman and shit. Like, I'm psyched.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have to add Kraken to that because,
Mm-hmm.
or Cthulhu or whatever the fuck you want to call them.
Yes. I love that shit. And now I want to learn. Like, I don't know anything about the Kraken, but I want to find out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I actually worked on a person. I was doing a healing session, and they were showing me a past life and died on a ship. And they showed me this big fucking octopus went around and crushed it.
Whoa.
Like, one arm went around and then another one and just crushed it. And
like, I don't want to be like, well, it's not easy. I'm not easy to convince into things because I feel like it's taken me a long time to get here. But I really think that every random ass fucking story that someone has is partly based on some sort of truth.
yeah.
Like, all of them. Like mermaids, Mothman, the Kraken, the Yeti, like all of these things.
Oh, I guess we could talk about mermaids too. I mean, they don't really fall under the cryptids category, but I guess we could talk about them.
But you know what I mean? Like, they all come from somewhere.
Like sirens.
Yeah.
That's where mermaids come from. They were actually called sirens, and they lured sailors to their deaths.
Oh, fuck, that's kind of cool.
I know. When I think of them in that sense, I'm like, man, mermaids are badass. You know?
Yes.
But that's why they call them siren song. They would sing.
Oh.
And pull them to their deaths.
Creepy. Love it.
Yeah. That's why when you...
And apparently in Atlantis, they used to like, the Atlanteans, some of them were just bad news. They would learn how to like basically meld genetics. So they'd take like a fish and a human and then they would blend them together. And apparently it was a very, very painful process. And they would just do that because they had like no fucking, not everyone. Some Atlanteans were cool, but some of them were not cool. And then they would just, it would hurt like to meld them. And then they would like make them fight to the death. Like literally in like gladiator style things.
I feel like
they didn't have a value for these weird things they created.
Well, duh. I feel like Madame Lalaurie. Do you know her story at all? Oh my God, we'll do a session on her. I feel like she was one of those Atlanteans in a past life.
Oh really?
Yeah, because she was in New Orleans, right? Of course,
yeah,
me and my New Orleans history.
Heard her name.
She was a rich lady who had a bunch of slaves, but she locked them upstairs in the attic when they misbehaved or she didn't agree or I think she just fucking took up there. She chained them up. She kept them prisoner up there and she did experiments on them. Like she would like cut somebody's arm off and like put their arm on somebody else's body part, like, and like just torture the shit out of them.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure she's Atlantean. Fuck the Atlanteans. Like, I feel like some of them were good. It's just like, it's like their humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Their humanity when they were at their peak, but then their peak destroyed them, and then here we are trying to redo. So humanity, as we know, is partly some people that have good interests and partly people that have very terrible interests.
But you would think we would learn from the Atlanteans, but no, because technically, wink, wink, they never existed.
Right.
Like, how are we supposed to learn? I think we know. It's pretty obvious that we don't learn from our history.
No, and I was gonna say I feel like it's because half of our history is incorrect. So
Well,
why would we
history is
learn it?
nothing but an agreed upon lie.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And I was reading something once, and it says what you are taught to memorize at some point. Like, hey, what you are taught to memorize at some point, if you can't like, if people never see it the way that the youth see it, you know, because when we learn about the Holocaust or whatever in school, we're all like, what the fuck? Like, we would never repeat that. But what you are taught to memorize, and if your viewpoints are never celebrated or shared, you will eventually memorialize.
Mm.
So, like, sometimes that's why history keeps repeating itself, is because, like, you know how, like, in the indigenous teachings, it's like the youth are so important? It's like the youth, we must listen to the youth.
Do you remember do you remember the Whitney Houston song, I believe the children are our future?
Yes.
Teach them well, let them lead the way.
Yes. So the reason that so many like indigenous communities around the world are so like interested in the youth is because they still remember.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't got lost in expectations in society and memories and all. We haven't been like, they haven't been destroyed basically. So we're supposed to listen to them because they are the future and they still remember because they're still connected. But then eventually it's like, yeah, what you're taught to memorize, you memorialize, and then they lose the spark. And then we're like, oh, for fuck's sakes. And history starts repeating itself. And you're just like, God damn it.
And then you convince yourself, oh, it's not the same. No, we wouldn't do that. It's not the same. And you convince yourself that things aren't the same when, no, they fucking are, you know?
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Oh, well.
What the fuck, humanity? Get your shit together.
I know, and I feel like I'm just like exhausted with humanity right now, and I'm trying to be a good person, and I'm trying to be optimistic, but at the same time, I'm just like, I'm running out of patience. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah, me too. Me too. But you know what? We will prevail.
Yeah.
Just, you know, sometimes it's okay to take a break from humanity, I think.
Yeah. I think it's okay too. Otherwise, you'll go crazy.
Well, seriously. Okay, so that's, what did we do? 3 or 4?
Yeah, I can't remember what we talked about.
Well, we did 3, I think, but technically, if you count CERN and Mandela as 2, then we've done 4, and our hour is basically up, folks. So if you liked this episode, let us know. We can always do conspiracy theories part 2.
Totally, because there's obviously a million of them.
Like, this was just like tip of the fucking iceberg.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, we could get real crazy.
Oh my god, we could go down a rabbit hole. Or 10.
Yeah. Oh, fun. I love conspiracy theories.
Like the little meme of the dog when they watch conspiracy theories all night and he's wearing a little, like, pajamas and a cap. I just don't know anymore. I'm like, that's so me.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yes.
That's how I feel about everything in life right now. I'm like, I just don't know what's going on.
I feel like that's me on the daily. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, thanks, you guys, for listening. We hope you enjoyed this. Let us know which Mandela effects do you feel, or, you know, do you have a Men in Black story? Because I'd fucking love to hear that. Like,
hell yeah.
Tell us.
Because that one, I'm always just like, is that true?
And
like,
if you
that's one of the ones I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty convinced Inner Earth was real, and the CERN one, I don't know. But the Mandela effect, I know is real.
Totally. And like the Men in Black, I feel like they're real.
I know.
Like, legit. So if you guys have any Men in Black stories, if you have any abduction stories, or like, just seen an alien story,
please
send us that shit.
Kirsten, pardon you.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Calling you out right now. Yeah, and just a reminder, you guys, send us your ghost stories, because we're going to be doing our big Halloween extravaganza. Because, yeah, we want your stories. And join us on Patreon if you want to see Kayla and I do some ghost hunting.
I'm so scared.
Oh my god, it's going to be so fun.
I'm excited, but I'm scared.
So terrifying.
Yes.
Maybe nothing will happen.
I wonder.
Although I kind of can't see it.
I know. I was like, I'm like,
doesn't seem like it's just going to happen. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, so if you want to see that, join our Patreon. And yeah, we'll leave it here.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
Because we can't go down another one, or we'll be here another 2 hours.
For
so,
sure.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, have a great day, everyone.
Bye.